Okay, is it recording?
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, our group will be presenting on Neutrogena and its employee engagement structure. My name is PJ, and I'm joined by Luke, Kevin, Jigisha, and AJ. Together, we will be analyzing how Neutrogena's employees appear to experience the organization internally, the strengths and gaps in that experience, and recommendations we believe could help improve engagement across the company. This is the structure of our presentation. First, we'll introduce Neutrogena and explain our topic. Then we'll look at employee voice evidence, connect that evidence to organizational behavior concepts and research, identify the key gaps, and finish with recommendations and a conclusion. Today, our team is analyzing Neutrogena through the lens of employee engagement structure. More specifically, we want to understand how employees experience the organization from the inside, not just how consumers view the brand from the outside. Neutrogena is a highly recognizable company with a strong reputation in the skincare industry, but as we know from organizational behavior, a strong external brand not always guarantees a strong internal employee experience. When we refer to employee engagement structure, we are talking about the systems, leadership behavior, communication practices, and workplace conditions that shape whether employees feel connected to their work and committed to their organization. This includes things like how supported employees feel by managers, how clearly leaders communicate, whether employees feel recognized for their work, and whether the company creates an environment where people feel motivated to contribute. We chose we chose this topic because employee engagement is one of the clearest indicators of organizational health. When engagement is strong, employees are more likely to feel invested in their roles, perform at higher levels, collaborate effectively, and remain in the organization. On the other hand, when engagement is weak, employees may begin to feel disconnected, unmotivated, or unsupported, which can eventually hurt morale, trust, and retention. So, for our presentation, the central question guiding our analysis is this: is Neutrogena effectively supporting employee engagement? And if not, where are the main gaps that the managers need to address? And that question is important because it allows us to look beyond the company's public image and focus on the actual employee experience within the organization. Now, my partner Luke will talk about the employee engagement at Neutrogena and go further into it.
Thank you, PJ. This topic matters because employee engagement has major consequences for both employees and the organization as a whole. When employees are engaged, they tend to be more motivated, more committed, and more willing to contribute to team and to company success. Strong engagement is also associated with better performance, stronger collaboration, and lower turnover intentions. On the other hand, when engagement is weak, the effects can spread quickly. Employees may begin to feel burned out, underappreciated, or disconnected from leadership. Over time, that can reduce morale, weaken trust, and increase the chances that employees leave the organization. So engagement is not just a culture issue, it is also a management and performance issue. To understand Neutrogena's employee engagement structure, we looked at employee voice data and recurring themes in how employees described workplace. What we found was a mixed picture. On the positive side, many employees seem to value the company's strong brand reputation, the sense that the work is meaningful, and the support they receive from coworkers or immediate teams. However, there are also recurring concerns that suggest engagement is not equally strong across the organization. Some employees point to inconsistent management support, heavy workload demands, communication problems, weak recognition, and limited growth opportunities. What stands out the most is not that the experience is entirely negative, but that the quality of the employee experience appears uneven. That tells us that Neutrogena has strengths, but those strengths are not being experienced consistently by all the employees. And now, Kevin is going to talk about some real employee comments that reveal mixed engagement structures.
Thank you, Luke. These direct employee comments from Glassdoor help us move from understanding general patterns to actually understanding employees' actual perspectives, like Luke mentioned. Some common themes are that people at Neutrogena enjoy who they work with and meaningful nature of the work. Those are important strengths because that shows Neutrogena does have the qualities that naturally support engagement. But at the same time, these comments seen on the slide reveal frustration employees mention overwhelming workloads, inconsistent recognition, unclear communication, and management quality that seems to vary depending on which team they are on. This is important because engagement is not just about whether employees like the company overall, it's whether the organization creates consistent conditions where the people feel supported, informed, and able to succeed. Some common themes are that people at Neutrogena enjoy who they work with and the meaningful nature of their work. Our scholarly research supports the same patterns we saw in the employee voice data. Research is organizational, and behavior consistently shows that employee engagement tends to increase when employees experience supportive leadership, clear communication, recognition, and opportunities to have their voice heard. And research also shows that direct supervisors play a major role in shaping employee engagement. And even if the organization has strong values on paper, employees often judge their actual experience through the behaviors of their manager. In addition, the research shows that overload, uncertainty, and weak communication can reduce engagement and increase withdrawal. So when we compare the employee comments to the scholarly findings, there's a strong connection between the two. And even though there are gaps, Neutrogena does appear to have several important strengths. One of their biggest is the strength of the brand itself. Employees often seem to take pride in working for a recognizable and respected company like Neutrogena underneath Kenvue, and that connection can help employees feel that their work matters and that they're part of something meaningful. Another strength is that the positive team experience many employees describe, such as supportive coworkers and collaborative teams, are a major contributor to engagement. And according to these Glassdoor and comparability reports, that backs up. So Neutrogena is not just starting from zero. Company has already built a base of brand pride, meaningful work, and peer connection. The challenge for managers is making those positive more consistent across the organization. Now, Jagisha will explain the inconsistency across the employee experience.
Thank you, Kevin. All right, so the main problem we noticed across was the employee experience isn't consistent across the company. And a few key problems that we identified were support feels different depending on which team you're on. Some managers are really strong while others are not as strong. The recognition also isn't consistent. Some employees feel appreciated and others feel overlooked. And on top of that, heavy workloads are taking a toll on morale. And this one is an interesting point. Just because the brand looks strong from the outside, that doesn't mean that the employees feel engaged on the inside. And so there are a few concepts from organizational behavior that help explain these issues and why they matter. First is perceived organizational support. So when employees feel valued and supported by the company, they are more likely to engage and go that extra mile. Next is leader-member exchange. Engagement varies depending on the manager. If a manager communicates well and treats them fairly, people feel motivated. And job demand versus resources is also important. If employees are under constant pressure without enough support, morale drops quickly. And finally, there's psychological meaningfulness. Um, so when employees feel proud of the brand or their work, it gives them purpose and it strengthens their commitment. Understanding these concepts shows us why uneven management and recognition can really impact overall engagement. So, what can Neutrogena do to make engagement stronger? First is standardized manager communication expectations. So, this ensures every team gets clear guidance, clear support, reduces frustration. Next is improving recognition programs so employees feel regularly appreciated, not just occasionally. Giving employees more ways to voice their opinions, like pulse surveys and feedback channels, makes them feel heard and valued. Workload and resources also need attention, so people shouldn't be stressed all the time because that directly affects productivity and morale. And finally, clarify development and growth pathways. When employees can see how to progress, they're more motivated and committed. These steps aren't just nice to have, they're essential for keeping employees engaged and happy over the long term. And now my teammate AJ can talk more about managerial implications and how Neutrogena can actually make this happen.
Awesome. Thank you, Jagisha. So the biggest managerial implication is that employee engagement is not something leaders can assume will happen naturally. It must be intentionally built through consistent management behavior, clear communication, and positive everyday employee experiences. In other words, engagement is not just an HR responsibility. It is a core leadership responsibility across all levels of the organization. Managers play the most direct role in shaping whether employees feel informed, supported, recognized, and respected in their roles. Because of this, even a company with a strong external brand like Neutrogena can struggle internally if manager behavior is inconsistent. Variability across teams leads to uneven employee experiences, which weakens trust and ultimately reduces overall engagement. For Neutrogena, this means that improving engagement is not just about implementing new programs, but about strengthening day-to-day management practices by increasing consistency in leadership behaviors, communication, and recognition. The company can create a more reliable and positive employee experience. Ultimately, improving engagement will not only benefit employees, but also drive a stronger morale, better teamwork, high performance, and improve retention over time. In conclusion, our analysis shows that Neutrogena has meaningful strengths in its employee experience, particularly in brand pride, meaningful work, and strong team relationships. These are real advantages that create a solid foundation for engagement and demonstrate that employees feel connected to the company and its mission. However, employee voice data also reveals clear engagement gaps. Employees do not consistently experience support, communication, recognition, and workload in the same way across the whole organization. This inconsistency is a central issue because it creates an unpredictable employee experience, which can weaken trust, lower morale, and ultimately reduce that engagement over time. So, from a managerial perspective, this means that Neutrogena must focus on building more consistent systems and practices across all of their teams. Strengthening communication, ensuring fair and visible recognition, and providing reliable support will create a more stable and dependable employee experience. Ultimately, the bottom line is that Neutrogena has the core ingredients for strong employee engagement, but it needs greater consistency to fully realize that potential. Thank you very much, and here are our references.